today for joining us in Mathcon Universe. Our goal today will be to focus on strategic problem solving in fractional algebraic equation. Strategic problem solving in fractional algebraic equation. And let us get started at this time, please. So we're going to solve a problem of this form, given 1/2 2 third x minus 1/5 minus 3/8 equals 4/5 x minus 1/4. So this will be our problem of the day. How do we approach this problem? Using strategic problem solving approach. How do we approach this problem? Dealing with fractional algebraic equation. First step, what will be our first strategy? Use distributive property. All right? Strategies. So our first step in this strategy is to use distributive property. Distributive property. So that's our first step. Distributive property. So that means we're going to take the 1/2 and multiply the 2 third. Take this 1/2 and multiply -1/5. That is using distributive property. In other words, if this 1/2 happens to be A and the B happens to be 2 third x and the C happens to be -1/5 or 1/5 in this case, this law says take A and multiply B, take A and multiply the -C. So this will be what? A times B, what? Minus, I repeat, A times B minus what? A times C. A times B minus what? A times C. That is the distributive property. So, that means we're going to do what? Take 1/2, multiply what? 2 third what?
By 2/3.
2 third x. Mr. Cristobal, thank you so much. By 2 third x, right? 2 third x, is that okay? Okay, you see we have to multiply not just the 2 third but also the 2 third x. So what would that be? It's going to be what? 1 times 2 means what? We have 2. 2 times 3 is what? 6. So that will be what?
1/3.
We're going to put the x here, right? So it becomes 2/6x. 2/6x. So what is 1/2 times -1/5? 1/2 times -1/5 is what? Yes, what is 1/2 times -1/5?
1/10.
-1/10. Thank you very much, Mr. Christopher. So that will be negative 1 over 10. Now, what's the next thing we have to do? The next step is what? We're going to bring down what? The negative 3 over what? 8. Bring down negative 3 over 8 on the left side. And this will equals what? 4/5 x minus 1 over 4. 4/5 x minus 1 over 4. So now, on the left side, what are we going to do on the left side? Miss Jimena, what am I supposed to do? Tell me. On the left side, what must I do now? Miss Jasmine, what am I supposed to do?
Move the x.
Move the x? Not quite. We want to do something on the left side.
Combine.
Combine like terms. Miss Jasmine of Houston, Texas, thank you very much for that positive contribution. So we're going to combine the like terms on the left side. So second step in this problem solving process, known as strategic problem solving, is to combine the like terms on the left side of the equation. So combine like terms. Combine like terms. So we are combining like terms at this point. So we're going to combine the negative 1 over 10 with the negative 3 over 8. What is the rule in combining two fractions through subtraction?
It has to be the same denominator.
We must have the same common denominator. Mr. Christopher, you're right. We must have the same common denominator. So, what is the common denominator of 10 and 8? 80. Mr. Christopher says 80. Any other smaller number?
40.
40. Ms. Jasmine of Houston, Texas. Thank you again, and thank you, Mr. Christopher. So 80 or 40 would do, but we can take 40, right? Is that okay? 40 is the least common denominator. But we also know that 80 is a common denominator. So consequently, we're going to use 40. So let us see. 10 will go into 40 how many times? 4 times. 4 times negative 1 will be what? Negative 4, Mr. Christopher, you're right again. Negative 4, thank you very much. And how many times will 8 go into 40? 5. 5 times negative 3 is what? Negative 15, so we already have a negative here, so we just put the 15 here. All right? So what do I do next? You can bring down the 2 over 6 x, and then on the right side, what must I do on the right side? Bring it down, right? Bring this quantity 4 over 5 x minus 1 over 4. So now, because we already have a common denominator on the left side, we can now combine the two fractions. So what is negative 4 over 40 minus 15 over 40? What would that be? Can anyone tell me? Anyone tell me what this will be? Negative 4 over 40 minus 15 over 40. Negative 19. Beautiful. Thank you so much. That is correct. Negative 19 over 40. So now we must bring down this side, problem here, this quantity, 26x minus negative 19 over 40. So we have just combined these like terms. We have just combined negative 4 over 40 minus 15 over 40, and we're able to get negative 19 over 40. And we'll draw this quantity down. So on the right side, what do we do next? What must we do on the right side? Bring it down, right? So bring down the quantity. Okay, bring down the quantity. So what are we going to do next? What must be our next strategy? What must be our next strategy? Can anyone tell me what our next strategy will be? Combine the x's with, all right, beautiful. The x's must go with the x's. Mr. Cristobal, thank you so much. Mr. Cristobal of Houston, Texas. Combine the x with the x. So move the quantity that has an x on the right side to the left side. So combine the x's together and combine what? The numbers together. So bring the quantities that have x to the left side of the equation. The quantity that does not involve x in it, bring it what? To the right side of what? The equation. So that's what we're going to do. So that is going to be what? Well, means that we're going to have 26 x minus what? 450 x, and that will equals to what? We have give us negative 1 over 4. What will be the 19? What will happen to negative 19? If we move it across the equal sign, what happens?
It changes.
It changes to positive. Thank you so much. So negative 19 over 40 now becomes what? Positive 19 over 40. Remember now, when you move something across the equal sign, the sign must change. I repeat, anytime you're solving a problem involving equation where you have variables and numbers on the left side of the equation and the right side, whenever you move any of the quantities across the equal sign, the sign must change. If it's negative, it becomes positive. If it is positive, it becomes what? Negative. So that's what is going to happen now. And that's what we did, rather. So what do we do next? We are now going to do what? Look at the problem on the left side. What do you see? We have a case where we have two fractions. Two fractions. Two fractions. 26x, the other one is negative 4 over 5x. We cannot do anything unless we have a common what? Denominator. So what is the common denominator of 6 and 5? What is the common denominator of 6 and 5? Anybody? 30. 30 is a common denominator. Thank you very much. 30 is a common denominator of 6 and 5. So how many times will the 6 go into 30? 5 times. Very good. 5 times 2 is what? 10. So make sure we understand this. 5 times 2 is 10, and then we have our x here. Don't forget the negative sign here. How many times will 5 go into 30? Anybody? How many times will 5 go into 30? 6. 6 times 4 is what? 24, right? 6 times 4 is 24. Don't forget the x. On the right side, what must we do? On the right side, we must find what? Common denominator. Thank you, sir. We must find a common denominator. What is the common denominator between 4 and 40? coming of 4 and 40. What's it coming into a 4 and 40, rather? 40. You are 100% right. Thank you so much. So we put 40 down and put 40 here. So how many times will 4 go into 40? 10 times. What is 10 times negative 1? Negative 10, Ms. Jasmine, of Houston, Texas. Thank you very much. Negative 10. So negative 10. Now what? How many times will 40 go into 40? 1 time. 1 times 19 is what? 19, thank you. All right? So now we are able to combine the like terms on the left side and the like terms on the right side. And making sure we pay attention to what? The operation. Because in fraction you cannot combine anything unless you have what? A common what? Denominator. So that means we're going to do what? Do 10x minus 24x. What's 10x minus 24x? What would that be? 10x minus 24x is going to be what? Negative 14x. Negative 14x, thank you very much. Over what? Over 30. Negative 14x over 30. All right? Negative 14x over 30. So that equals to what? What would that be? Equals to what? 9 over 40. Wow, that is good. In other words, if you have negative 10 over 40 plus 19 over 40, it must be 9 over 40. It must be what? 9 over 40. Make sure you're copying this down. So it must be 9 over 40. All right. Notice the next thing we have to do now is to try to what? Do what? Get x by itself. We must, because it goes, it says to solve for x. To solve. Solve. So we're solving for x. Don't forget that fact. We are solving for x. So how can we get x by itself finally? What must we do to get x by itself? What must we do to get x by itself? All right, we can divide both sides by negative 14 over 30, right? Or we can multiply both sides by the reciprocal of negative 14 over 30. Which one do you want? Multiply. Mr. Cristobal said, let's multiply. So let's multiply both sides by what? The reciprocal. What is the reciprocal of negative 40 over 30? 30 over negative 14. Thank you, Mr. Cristobal. Okay, so let's do that. So 30 over negative 14. Again, still we have negative 14x over 30 equals, we have negative 40. So whatever we do to the left side, we must do what? To the right side. So we must multiply the right side by the same quantity. That will be again 30 over what? Negative 14 times what? 9 over 40. So remember now, when you're solving equation problem, whatever you do to the left side, you must what? Do to the right side. So notice on the left side, this 30 will cancel with this 30. You get 1. Negative 14 into negative 14 will give us 1. All right, so the quantities have now canceled out. So x is left now on the left side. X is left on the left side. On the right side, let's see what we can do with the right side. Notice that this 0 will cancel with this 0 here. Okay? Is there any other common cancellation possibility? Anything else? Is there a common factor between 9 and 14? A common factor between 9 and 14? Any common factor? No, right? No common factor. What about between 3 and 4? Is there a common factor? No. So consequently, what must we do? We're going to multiply the 3 by 9. What is 3 times 9? 27. So 3 times 9 is 27. And what is negative 14 times 4? What is negative 14 times 4? What would that be? Thank you for that contribution. Negative 56. This is going to be the final solution. X equals negative 27 over 56. And thank you so much.